Hello everybody and welcome to part 4 of the research and planning, and it's the stuff we need to do before we move on to actually making the media studies coursework. Just a reminder now of some of the key things that we're sort of planning to do. So we've got to make coursework, but a reminder that it's 30% of the overall grade, and for it you've got to create your own magazine brand. So magazines these days aren't just magazines, they're actually brands. They consist of what we call print media and also online media. But in order to really sort of do this properly, what we've got to do is to research magazines and research the magazine industry. And then we've got to plan the production once you've done that research. Okay, but what we're sort of planning to do eventually is create some print media. So this will be a magazine cover for your own magazine that you've come up with the idea for, something called an advertorial, and also something called a double page spread. We'll be looking more at those quite soon. Eventually, we also produce a website for the magazine that carries on a house style from the magazine, and it's got to include audio-visual extracts, such as an introduction to a YouTube channel for a magazine, which again is a common feature of what magazines do. For now, though, what we're going to do is just concentrate on the print bit, and we're going to do the research and planning for print. So print is our focus, and you've got this just to outline the key things that you will need to plan for and that you need to understand before you can actually plan and make your own production. And today in this session we're going to look at the front cover. So you can see the front cover here, things we've got to know about, and you will know about a lot of these from the lessons you've been in. But you've got to come up with the masthead or the name of the magazine. So the masthead for the magazine, a strap line, cover price and barcode, which is dead straightforward. We can just create one of those, lift that from Google or somewhere like that. But you've got to create your own sort of main image. And you'll have to photograph this. So it's got to be your photographic content. And it's got to be of a person. So some people try just to photograph objects. It can't be that. We've got to have a person in there. It's got to have a lead cover line relating to the main image and other cover lines as well, a minimum of 3. You may even want more. So that's what we're going to focus on today. All right, now today's task, there's a number of things I want you to do. And again, you'll be familiar with this because we've done quite a lot of this in class. So it's, pretty stock stuff that you're being asked to do. So the first thing I want you to do is to find a magazine cover, but I want you to choose it from the area of the magazine that you would like to make yourself. So a couple of pieces of work back I said, what would you like to make? And some of you were saying fashion, some said travels, a couple of people said music magazines, somebody even did a sort of technology magazine, they wanted to do that. But you could have fitness. In fact, you could do pretty much anything that you wanted to do, but I want you to choose a magazine cover from the sort of area of magazine that you would like to create yourself. And you need to choose a magazine that's got a person on as well, not just an object. This is important that people actually appear on the cover. Otherwise it can appear quite cold and it's not fulfilling the brief anyway. So first of all, choose a magazine cover. Then roughly what's the target audience for this magazine? How would you describe that? Then I want you to annotate the front cover using terminology from the brief I've just been over, and then comment on each of those features and say how it represents the audience. How is it linking to the audience? How is it identifying the audience, and maybe even talking about the future audience. Remember, this could link to John Burgess' theory and the idea of the future audience, not as they are now, but as they could be if they buy into a particular product. And then I want you to say how far you think it is stereotypical. So to help you do it, what I've got is an example. Okay, so again, it's another men's health, and I chose this because I didn't think anybody else would be choosing men's health. So anyway, so here we go. So of course, the key features that I want you to first of all identify. So say I was doing this, choose my men's health sort of cover, and then I would identify the key features. First of all, what I would do is try to identify the three main colours used on the magazine. So magazines use three colour blocks really, and if you've got anything more than that, it gets a bit confusing for the audience to actually sort of make sense of the magazine. Men's Health often use these the three colours of red, black, and put them on a white background. Obviously on this you can see some yellow in there, but they're just accents, they're just things to sort of draw attention to particular aspects of the page, so I wouldn't describe that as a main colour. So it's red, black on white, really, on a white background. You've got a strap line here, so this tells you a little bit more about the magazine. In this case it says stronger, faster, better. Of course you've got a masthead, but what you've got here is a serif font. And then you've got a main image. The main image obviously dominates the page. You might notice that the head of the model on the front of the page goes over the masthead, obscures the masthead a little bit. That's perfectly normal, a convention of magazines. And we can see here that there is a cover line that relates to the main image as well, and it's important that you have that. So this is about an actor called Liam Hemsworth, who's an Australian actor, and I think he's probably best known for being in the Hunger Games, the film called The Hunger Games, but he's been in lots of other things as well. Of course, there's lots of other cover lines on there as well, and these are used to design the page and suggest to the audience that there's lots of content in there. And last but no means least, you've got to identify the barcode and cover price, and you will have to do this on your own work, with your own projects when you eventually make that. Okay, so as I was saying in the task, we're going to move on and analyze. You've analysed the front cover, but then if you could choose the target audience, so you could say for Men's Health, it's sort of slightly older males, 25 plus, 25 into men in the 50s really, and it's an ABC1 social classification, if you could possibly sort of say that. Just something as general as that, if you could identify that. And then what I want you to do is to analyse the front cover just by picking up on each of the features that you've just identified. So if you think about this in relation to the audience, and the audience is male, and we've got Liam Hemsworth, of course, is an actor who's often associated with certain things. So why is that person there in that magazine? So he's associated with sort of action adventure roles, and sort of men being active and strong and powerful and things like that. The masthead, you could make a point about the font that it uses. So this is a serif font that has connotations of tradition and suggests that these are values that are established over time. Of course, we've mentioned the three main colour blocks, and what these do is create a contrast between them, so they sort of stand out, they look quite bold, and that could be argued to look quite sort of strong as well. You may relate that to the way it's representing men, that men are seen to be strong and bold and should stand out and be noticed. And this is what this magazine cover does. A lot of other women's magazine covers in the mainstream generally sort of use colours that blend together more, but this doesn't. They really sort of stand out and contrast together. So can you comment on that? Of course, the strap line of stronger, faster, better, just mentioned, suggesting these are values and concepts that men should strive for. And then the cover lines, if we look at the cover lines on this, they're designed in a sort of building block style, the sort of a square and rectangular. There's sort of a space between them, and they're sort of built up one upon another in a sort of logical and coherent order. It's not sort of things just haphazardly thrown in all over the place. So again, we've got the use of bold fonts, bold texts, things in bold that suggest strength and power. Okay, now once you've done that, once you've analysed those things, what I want you to do is think about how far this is actually representing a stereotype. And again, for stereotyping, what we can do is to link it to theory. So we've got Stuart Hall's theory here, and part of Stuart Hall's theory is that he says that the idea of stereotyping as a form of representation reduces people to a few simple characteristics. Now, having looked at this front cover, what few simple characteristics are men being reduced to? Okay, and this is what we're looking at. So to what extent is this true with your magazine cover? What few simple characteristics are men being reduced to? So you could say with this, in men's health, men are reduced to the physical strength, characteristics of physical strength, muscular and athletic body, a desire to be admired by others because of their physique, because of the way they look, perhaps boldness and confidence. We've got that from the 3 blocks of colour, but also the need to improve, you know, to be stronger, faster, better. So it's not to be happy with how you are now, but it's to want to be something else. So again, linking it in with Berger was saying it's about the future buyer. It's not about the audience as they are now. And if you could as well, this would be really good if you could do this. Representations and stereotypes are the process of selection and omission. They choose certain things. So we have certain things chosen here with, you know, in order to create this sort of stereotype. But what is missed out? What is actually missed out is the next step. So can we do this as well? What aspects of masculinity are missed out? Can we pick maybe, you know, 3 or 4 things? So for example, we've got things like nothing to do with men and family values. We've got nothing to do with intellectual ability, nothing to do with sort of, you know, being part of a team, working with others, nothing to do with charity work. There's lots of things that are missed out, but if you could just pick a few of them, obviously being a normal body shape, that's missed out as well. It's not seen as the norm for this magazine. So that's what I want you to do. The checklist is here. So work through that. So you've got an example of how this works and how it can work for you. And I want you to choose that magazine cover yourself, but from the area that you want to create a magazine for. So in that particular sort of subject area. So we're moving on a bit. I hope that makes sense and hope you're able to follow it. If not, get back to me on Teams and we can pick up questions on there and take it forward. But great work produced up to now has been fantastic. Let's carry on with that. Thank you.